everyone, I'm Ayşe Gülistan, and this is Invest in Türkiye Talks. So what are we going to do throughout these series? We'll be talking everything related to investment, from FDI inflows to entrepreneurship, the investment infrastructure in Türkiye, and trends and challenges that sectors may face in the near future. Today, I'm joined by Altan Küçükçınar. Altan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Ayşegül.
Altan is a partner at Diffusion Capital Partners, and he is the chairman of the Turkish Venture Capital Council of TOB, otherwise known as, for listeners that don't know what TOB is, the Union of Chambers and Commodity Exchanges of Türkiye. Altan, let's start with Diffusion Capital Partners. DCP is the first deep tech fund of Türkiye, and you've been a partner since 2015. Can you tell us about DCP? What is it that you do exactly, and how big is the fund you manage?
Thank you, Ayşegül. Thank you for the invitation and for this opportunity to tell you and our audience about DCP. DCP is a fund manager. We're managing venture capital funds that invest into companies in technology fields. We're a sector agnostic fund manager. We do invest almost in every technical field, but we have a clear definition of deep tech. I think we'll be coming to that later. We started operating in 2015, and since then we have 3 funds still operational. The first one was backed by EIF and some prominent investors from Turkey. We've made 18 investments out of that fund, and we still have some of them in our portfolio. We closed our second fund in 2020, and we are still active in that fund, still operating, still making investments, and we have an opportunity fund to back the promising companies on top of these 2 funds. I think this briefly summarizes what we do and what DCP is doing. I think DCP is unique in that sense that it is one of the first funds managing deep tech funds, because before that we had some funds active in Turkey. But I think we've managed to spot some light on the promising technological companies, apart from only pure digital businesses. We had a very large pool of candidate companies from all of the universities, technology development zones, and from successful entrepreneurs having completed successful technology projects. And with that, I think we managed to get the attention of the international investors into Turkey as regards the deep tech opportunities as well.
I'm going to come on to the international side in a moment, but I want to ask you what deep tech is. Because it sounds very niche. It sounds like a very, special, classified type of technology. But there's a lot of technological, advancements that are going on now, and there's a rapid change in that sector. So do you get affected by these changes? So if you were to invest in a company, a deep tech startup, for example, and then something happens in that sector and it changes the calculations that you've made, can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, exactly. I think I'll start first with the definition of deep tech. Deep tech opportunities are the opportunities and the businesses which are having their competitive edge from the technological superiority. Almost every business opportunity in the world right now has something to do with the technology. There is no opportunity in the world right now that doesn't touch technology. Everything is related with technology. But what sets deep tech apart is these opportunities should be having their competitive edge coming from the technological superiority. The business should be doing something which the others cannot do. This is what we call as the competitive edge for our investments. And the technological superiority should be the main reason of this competitive edge. It should be something technical. And because of this technological knowledge, know-how, intellectual property rights, your competitors should not be able to repeat what you're doing. So it might be in the form of a process knowledge, it might be in the form of a patent, some know-how. These are the main characteristics of the deep tech opportunities, and we are looking for these opportunities in our portfolio. We're a sector agnostic management firm, which means that we can invest into almost every technological field. This might be healthcare, artificial intelligence, software, materials. We're open to every idea. It should include some technological innovation. It should not be based on a business model innovation, and it should not be easily attacked by the competitors by simply putting more money into it. There should be a technological barrier for the competitors to replicate what you're doing.
So you're actually looking for something unique.
Exactly. And it should be technologically unique. Every idea is open to be replicated when it's successful. Everybody will replicate. Everybody will try to attack the market that you're building. In that sense, if you have a technological barrier, the moat should be big enough, and it should be the technological superiority that should be protecting you and your market from the competitors.
And Altan, my last question about DCP is, you only focus on deep tech, and is there a reason for that? Because when we speak to other fund managers, we can see they invest in a wide variety of sectors. So is there a reason why you're only focusing on these kind of opportunities?
Yes, it is kind of a personal preference because of our backgrounds. Me and my partners, we are all engineers, and throughout our professional careers, we always worked either in the labs developing technology or did some desk job on how to promote technology. We used to work for the Scientific and Technological Research Council of Turkey, Technology Development Foundation of Turkey. We were either doing research on our own, or we were trying to devise policies on how to support the innovation, technology, research and development. So we're kind of familiar with the technology businesses, and this is where we feel comfortable. And our networks, which we have built throughout these professional careers, allowed us to reach out the potential candidates for our investment thesis. Therefore, I think it was a natural choice. This is what we know, this is what we feel comfortable, and therefore we were looking for deep tech opportunities. We do invest in some opportunities which lie in between the technology and the business model innovations. But I think I can safely say that we feel more comfortable in dealing with technology because we know how to tackle the technological problems, how to manage the technological risks. In our business, we are risk capital managers. This is another definition of it, what we're doing. You have to manage the risks, and in deep tech, there is a technology risk. Something can be built, something can be successful, or something can fail. And our professional backgrounds allow us to manage those technological risks, how to avoid the pitfalls, how to manage the risks. Therefore, we are more comfortable in deep tech than the other fields.
Now, Altan, you speak about your experience as an engineer and how this has driven you naturally to invest in deep tech. You also have extensive experience in the public sector.
Yes.
You've worked at a different number of institutions, and you still serve as the chairman of the Turkish Venture Capital Council of TOP. So how do you think these two experiences in the public sector, and how does it speak to what you're doing now in the private sector?
I think these experiences in the public sector kind of shaped my view on how to look at the technology. So throughout my career, I generally worked on the policy design for research and development, for information society, and for innovation. So I was lucky enough to have met some excellent people, both in Turkey and abroad. And our focus was how to develop technology, how to provide a flourishing environment for technology companies and technology skill set grows in a country. I think this helped me to understand what the dynamics are of the ecosystem of the companies. How do they struggle? How do they overcome the problems that they face? And what kind of support is needed for these companies to grow? And now, having left the public sector for this fund management position, I think relate more to the companies than who is only on one side of the table. I switched the seats. Now I'm on the provider side of the funds. And I think I can understand what is needed, how to manage, how to avoid the difficulties. Therefore, I'm lucky enough, I think, to have spent some time in the public sector.
And obviously this experience in the public sector, I guess as a fund manager, you know, for example, which actor you would need to go to, which institution you would need to approach. And people that don't have any public sector experience and are only, been in the private sector experience may not know that. So I guess that's an advantage that you can use.
Exactly, because public sector is a very critical factor in this ecosystem. The companies, although we provide some level of funding, they mainly rely on the public sector funding throughout the research and development. This sets the deep tech businesses unique in their own as well. there is a bunch of opportunities. There is a bunch of funding opportunities available from the government sources, from the public sector, from TÜBİTAK, from KOSGEB, from other institutions as well. And navigating through these options is very critical for a company to survive. And on top of that, there are some international funding options available as well from the European Union framework programs. And I was lucky enough to have worked with these institutions, and I think, help to companies where to look for the funding on top of our funding, how to apply, what are the critical milestones to be achieved, and how to manage those projects. So I think this is some value add from our side to the companies that we invest in, to help them navigate the public sector, the expectations from the public sector. And I see several companies of our portfolio completing very successful technological research and development projects. I'm proud to be part of it.
Brilliant. Now, obviously, this experience isn't just about having experience that you can share with the entities that you invest in, but it's also people that invest in you, because while you're a giver, you're also a taker at the same time.
Exactly.
So the matter of trust, in actual fact, because when people give money to DCP, they're giving money to Altan, and they need to know Altan's background and, whether he can be trusted, that they will get those returns. So what I'm going to ask you about is your relationship with the investors. How do you approach your investors when you ask them to invest in your fund? And are your investors mainly from Turkey or abroad?
It all starts with an investment thesis. You should have a plan to invest into some set of companies that are available and that are looking for funding. You will be defining a set of criteria. An example, you will be saying, okay, I will invest in deep tech, or I will invest in gaming, or I will invest fintech and healthcare. So this is where you start to build an investment thesis. Then you should be having an idea about how big your fund should be, depending on the needs of the potential companies in these sectors that you want to invest in. So let's say you say, okay, I will be having a portfolio of 15 companies. I will be investing several $million, several million euros into each of them. So I will have around, let's say, 40, 50 million euros of a fund size. Then you go to the investors and you tell them, okay, there is the opportunity. These companies that I will be investing will grow 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And these are the markets that I would be looking for the companies. These are the markets that they will be operating in. This is lucrative. This will grow. And then you will be telling them an investment thesis. The critical question for an investor that we call as LPs, limited partners, is, are they confident enough that you will be able to achieve the results that you tell them, that you promise them, okay? Will you be able to pick the right companies? Will you be able to support them throughout their operations? And will you be able to return the money after selling your shares in those companies? So this is a matter of trust. And if they feel comfortable about you will be able to realize the story that you're telling them, then they will provide you with the funding. And then as an intermediary, you're just getting money from someone and you're providing it to the ones who are in need of it. And then you return it back to your investors. In every stage, while looking for investment from your investors and while making investments into companies, it is always built upon trust. Your investor should be able to feel comfortable with you, and you should be able to feel comfortable with the companies that you invest in.
And Altan, we talk a lot about the investment process. We don't necessarily focus on the exit of these startups. So when do you feel it's a good time to exit now?
When you invest into a company, before you stepping in, you should have an idea about when to step out. So the company that is looking for funding should be able to tell you their vision of how they will be growing, how big they will be in a couple of years, and what are the options for you to sell your shares to return back the investment that you got from your investors. Okay, this is their vision. If you think this is doable, then you invest in, and then you start closely monitoring what's going on. And after 3 years, if they're good, and if you're able to sell your shares, then the plan is successful. But it is, as in all the plans, there might be some changes, some unexpected events happening, the markets, the technology, the people. Some people are leaving, some people are fighting with each other. These plans change. The job of a fund manager is to manage those risks. You cannot avoid risk. You should be embracing the risk, but the critical thing is you should be able to manage it. You cannot avoid this, because if there is no risk, then there is no return. So for an exit, you might want to wait around 5 to 6 years, because the funds that we manage have a lifetime of 10 years. So after 10 years, it should be over. You should wind down what is left and return back all the proceeds to your investors. So, and you do not make your investments on day one. So it takes time. So you make some investment in year 3. And if you take into account that for a company to grow, to scale, and to meet the customers, to position itself as a leader in the market, and to present you an exit opportunity, it might take 5-6 years on average. So you will be doing your investments in the first couple of years, and then you will be sitting next to them throughout the operation. And for the last couple of years of your investment fund, you will be looking for the opportunities to sell your shares in the companies.
So you've got to be a calm person who is only driven by mathematical calculations. It's not. I don't think it's a job that everyone can do, because I've had guests that have told us similar stories, and whenever I listen, it really does stress me out. So good luck with that. I'm going to move on to the ecosystem in Turkey in general. And you talked about limited partners, but I want to ask you, what do you think their funding power has for the improvement of the ecosystem in Turkey?
In Turkey, we do not have as many limited partners as it should be. Turkey is a big country, and it has resources. The issue with the Turkish ecosystem as regards the limited partners is it is something new. Turkey does not have a long history of venture capital, venture funding. It's a rather new ecosystem which is still in the development phase. In the last couple of years, there have been some regulatory changes which allowed a lot of venture capital funds being formed. And there are some encouraging regulations for the to-be LPs. The government is providing some incentives for the companies to be investors into funds like ours. But I think there is still a lot to do. And there is something I always believe: a GP, a fund manager like us, is only as good as their LPs, their limited partners. The limited partners should be demanding. The limited partners should be monitoring what the GP is doing, and always forcing them to be on achieving the highest results. If the number of the sophisticated investors, as I would like to call them, increase, the number of general partners, the fund managers, will increase, and more mature venture capital ecosystem in Turkey will emerge, I would say.
I feel like although we're in our early stages, as you said, it's become an ecosystem that has filled quite quickly in terms of both private entities but also public. The investment office, the different investment agencies, and the work that the ministries are doing as well, finance and technology, in this field to make Turkey a regional hub in this field. Now, what do you think, though, are the main trends that will shape Turkey's startup ecosystem?
I think one of the major dynamics of the Turkish ecosystem would be some more scale-ups. We have a lot of startup companies, and with a recent initiative by TÜBİTAK, there has been a lot of seed or pre-seed funding into the companies. I think this will provide a bigger deal flow to fund managers like us, and we will be able to see more companies, more startups entering into the venture ecosystem. What we will see is bigger funding rounds, more internationalization. I think Turkey and the Turkish ecosystem will resemble what is happening in the global ecosystem as well. I think we'll see more climate-focused startups, and gaming will be high on the venture ecosystem still for a while. What we see is, perhaps because we're interested into the opportunities, some more life sciences opportunities, because the Turkish healthcare system is able to provide excellent entrepreneurs from the medical field, and I think Turkey has some advantage over the peers. Some bigger rounds will be, I think, more available compared to the last couple of years.
And let's finish off with, Altan, what you touched upon. For people that may be listening to us who might want to enter, who might have an idea and who might want to create their own startup, what piece of advice would you give them?
An excellent question. I think if I had to pick only one, I would say look for the market. Is there a market for the product or the service that you are trying to provide? Because people think that they have an idea and the customers will be rushing to them to buy it. But it is mostly not the case. Coming up with something unique, which is to be served to an untapped market, is very difficult. And there is something called product market fit or service market fit. The outcome of your startup should be well received by the customers. They should be willing a premium to access to it, and you should be able to provide it continuously at the same level of quality. These are very critical. I see a lot of startups working on developing something for several years. And then they are frustrated seeing that the market does not respond as they wish. The customers are not buying it. The customers are not repeating the buying. And then, unfortunately, they fail. The success of a company is only measured by the outcome of its sales. Converting the customers to sales is very difficult. You should be able to assess the validity of the market, the size of the market, the life of the market. Yeah, I think if I would be an entrepreneur, I would be definitely looking more into the market. I should tell to the investors that there is a market, that I will be serving them.
Sometimes when we feel like we have an idea, we feel like nobody else has had that idea. It's the same in a lot of different fields.
It is almost never true.
Yeah, that's right.
There are a lot of ideas because people see the same things around. Execution is the key. So everyone has an idea, everyone can come up with an idea, but making it a real solution as a product or a service is very critical. And this is perhaps the second advice to entrepreneurs. Don't be afraid that your ideas will be stolen. Everybody can come up with a similar idea to yours. But what you should be showing, or what will put you apart from the competitors, is your execution capacity. You should be able to bring the people and the resources, come up with something that the others will not be able to replicate, provide it consistently, provide it at the same level of quality, and do it all in a way that will bring you prosperity. This is, I think, the definition of an entrepreneur.
Brilliant, Altan. And we'll finish here for today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It was a pleasure. I hope this will shed some light on the potential entrepreneur's journey.
Thank you. In today's episode with Altan Küçükçınar, we spoke about Diffusion Capital Partners and their focus on deep tech. Altan told us about what he thinks potential entrepreneurs should look out for before entering the market and what makes their ideas a valuable asset. You can find our podcast on all streaming platforms, and for more updates and information, follow Invest in Türkiye on social media. Stay tuned for more episodes where we'll be talking more about investment in Türkiye.